Welcome to Survive and Advance on the Gruely True Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies and a PEMF machine. To find out more about them, you can go to thegruelytruth.net, click on the banner at the top of our page at thegruelytruth.net, and check out everything they have to offer. I'm your host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I would like to welcome in my co-host, a member of the 1981 National Championship Indiana Hoosiers, Steve Alford. I almost said Steve Alford. Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Oh, that hurt. That hurt. That hurt. That hurt. That hurt. Oh, that hurt. I'm bleeding badly. I'm doing great. I was until that comment came out.
Oh, on the bright side, I think you scored about as many points in the NBA as Steve Alford did. So.
Yeah. 2 times 0 is still 0, isn't it?
That's the way that goes. Had 4 in his 6 years. So he only beat me by a few points.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Our guest today, one thing we haven't talked about the first 2 weeks of this is Major League Baseball. So we figured we'd bring in our Major League Baseball beat writer, Josh Raymond Castro. How you doing, Josh? And the other thing, Josh, is this. You need to shorten it to just 2 names because I have a hard time with long names, even if they're easy like yours. How you doing?
I'm doing
Josh.
good, Mike.
Josh, do not shorten your name. It's a great name. I think of nothing but pure sex appeal when I hear that name.
Like Steve Alford.
I'm glad. You know what? You said it, Steve. So
do not change your name. Anybody who's got 3 names is an important person.
Oh, Steve. All right. How you doing, Josh?
I'm hanging in there.
All right. So Steve is a typical baseball fan, so he wants to know immediately about the Red Sox and Yankees. So let's start off. Let's look at the American League. And to me, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the Red Sox, Yankees, Astros, and Mariners, maybe the Indians are the best teams. The Indians maybe just because they're playing in a horrible division. But what's your breakdown in the first half, and what do you look for in the second half for the American League East?
So far, the breakdown in the first half is that the Red Sox are completely sweeping the entire American League. I mean, they have just been on top for so long now. 64 wins, 29 losses. They're currently floating between first and third place, just kind of depending on how the Yankees are doing and how the Astros, which are the reigning champs, are doing. I really think it's going to come down to the fact that, the Red Sox and the Yankees are probably going to end up on the wild card. Going into the postseason, you're definitely going to see one of those three teams in the World Series. They're just so much better than anyone in the National League right now, and really just anyone in baseball. It's just kind of a race right now between the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Astros, and they're just blowing the competition away.
Right,
Josh, is there a possibility? Yeah, if the Yankees say end up as a wild card draw and the Red Sox win the division, is there a chance that the Yankees and Red Sox would meet in that first playoff series? Is that possible, or are they trying to eliminate that from happening?
I think it is possible, and I think it would be great for the MLB image-wise. It's been such a bad few years for the MLB, and 2018 has been no better than any of the other ones. And a lot of that has to do with, sabermetrics kind of making a big entrance into the way that the MLB has played the game in the last few years. And that started happening in 2016. You kind of saw that movie that came out a few years ago, Moneyball, and that had a lot to do with, how they buy players and, what they're looking for in players. So when the game started to change because, people started doing the shift in the field and just the way that the baseball has been played overall has started to change, we started to lose viewers because you're seeing more strikeouts. You're seeing more people intentionally walk to get on base and up their OBP. And you're just seeing a completely different kind of ball game. So you're losing viewers. So what MLB needs is a really good rivalry, in the postseason to really bring back fans. And, I think it's awesome to see that the Red Sox and the Yankees could be in the postseason. You could watch these two teams go head-to-head. And earlier in the season, you had Joe Kelly and Austin fighting in center field. Those are the kind of awesome things. and I know a lot of people don't agree with me. And I don't want to see fighting in baseball. But I do. I want to see I want to see Joe Kelly throw down. I think it's great for baseball.
All right. I'm already – Josh is my favorite guest we've had on now already. So you can't beat a good fight. Whether it's baseball, basketball, you got to have a fight. And everybody always looks down on it. But I love a good fight.
I loved it.
when you look at this, what's your take on the rumors about Matt Harvey possibly being traded to the Yankees?
The Yankees have stayed under their luxury tax for the season so far, so they're going to make some big moves, and I'm just not sure what it's going to be. I really think that they're going to take Manny Machado from the Orioles. And it's funny because if you look at a lot of Bleacher Report right now, Barstool, a lot of these guys are saying, oh, the Red Sox are looking at Manny Machado. And I think what the Red Sox are doing is they're trying to drive the price up and make it so the Yankees have to come so far out of pocket that they can't pick up a lot of other players. And I don't think that the Red Sox are interested in Manny Machado at all. First off, we don't have anyone to trade for him. We have a depleted farm system. What I really think is that they're going to drive the price up, make the Yankees go and just spend so much money on them, and that way they can just pick up a few key players later on. And really, we haven't seen what Manny Machado is capable of. Is he going to be a bust in New York? We don't know.
Josh, does chemistry play as big a role in baseball as it does? I know, we've talked about all the trades that's gone on in the NBA and things, and how Golden State's maybe added a couple players that might screw with their chemistry more than help their talent pool. Is chemistry a big part of a baseball? Because it seems like being like baseball, you individually hit, you individually field. I mean, there is team strategy, I understand, but it seems the players are relying on doing their own job more combined together to produce a win. Whereas basketball, they'll have to be on the same page. Is chemistry that big of a deal? I think the Yankees are doing well enough that wouldn't adding anything, is it going to strengthen them or could it start rolling into their chemistry?
I think it depends on who you add. And exactly, I mean, that's a two-part question. First off, I think that, like I said, it depends on who you add. If you add a big name like, say, Bryce Harper to the Yankees, where you already have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, you've got two big names already, and these two guys are already the brand, really, of the Yankees. So you add another big name in there. I mean, I don't think that a guy like Bryce Harper wants to come on board to the Yankees and have to share that limelight with anyone else, especially when he's being marketed so well by the Nationals. He wants to go somewhere where he is going to be the face of that team. And so I think, with a lot of these guys who are getting millions and millions of dollars, there is a chemistry. Like, for example, Manny Machado had nothing but horrible things to say about the Red Sox when he was interviewed last year. And so, how are you going to say all those things about this team and then just be a part of the Red Sox? There's a certain chemistry. You've got to be accepted in the bullpen. And, I think there's certain fits that just wouldn't work out, But I think chemistry plays a big part, yes.
Yeah, and now if we look at the National League right now, the Phillies are in first, small lead of a game over the Braves. Nationals are still in it there. The Milwaukee Brewers, game and a half lead over the Cubs. And then, of course, the NL West, which I think is the most competitive division, there's 4 teams within 4.5 games. So when you look at this, what teams here are a threat to actually go to a World Series and win it, if any of them, number one? And number two, are teams like the Phillies and Brewers, do you think they're for real?
Yeah, the Brewers have come a long way this season. But, when you look at the NL West, it's hard to compare them to, what you see coming out of the American League. And I'm not talking about it, but there's just a huge runaway in the competition and what's coming out of the NL West. The NL West has some great stuff going on for it. I mean, you got the Mariners. The Mariners have been doing, fantastic. Going in, they gave the Red Sox a run for their money in all the series they've played against us so far. But you also, like I said, you can't disregard the fact that the Red Sox are 64, 29. That's just so this league's above them, and the Astros is leagues above what everybody else is doing. So, and like I said, the Astros, Red Sox manager Alex Cora was a bench coach on the Astros last season, and they went to the World Series, and now this guy who already understands how you get to a World Series is a rookie manager for the Red Sox. They take him so far that it's hard to not think that, hey, the Red Sox are definitely going to make the postseason. It's impossible to say that the Astros aren't going to make the postseason as well.
Steve?
Yeah, I muted for a second. I apologize. Somebody knocked on my door and the dogs are going nuts. So carry it out until I get the dogs quieted down. I apologize. So I'm just trying not to have dogs barking in the back of great description. So, okay, I think I may have them quieted down. So, Mike, go ahead. I apologize.
All right, so I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan, and I don't think there's been a team that has played better than the Reds consistently for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Is there any way a team like that could get back in this, because the National League is kind of weak?
I think that the Reds they have been playing great, and they have shown a little bit more consistency. Do I think they can pull enough wins out to make it into the postseason? That's kind of hard to say at the moment. It's like I said, we're just getting to the All-Star break. They're 41-51. So they're making a comeback, and they're kind of figuring out, they're getting into their groove as the second half of the season comes. I think it might be a little too late to say that we'll see them, in the World Series, but I do think
I don't think we're seeing them in the World Series.
Do I think it's baseball. Anything can happen. Like I said, we've seen crazier stuff happen. Anything is possible. It's never over till it's over. But you definitely could see in the postseason. Like I said, I mean, right now the Phillies are doing so great. That it's like, I think that we're definitely going to see. I know we're going to see the Phillies for sure. But as far as the Reds go, like I said, the game the other night really blew me away.
Yeah, and when you look at this, who are some of the guys that have really surprised you this year? I know for me, I'm a Reds fan. Scooter Gennett hitting .322. I don't know where that came from. I think he's got 14 home runs, 58 RBIs. But a guy that has really surprised you, anybody come to mind?
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying not to sound biased. JD Martinez, we got him. The Red Sox got him from the Diamondbacks. And probably one of the best purchases they ever made. This guy is just raking. He's got, I think, 28 home runs last time I checked, and he's just, he's just going crazy. I think overrated, Bryce Harper. I think that this is a guy who, like I was saying earlier, markets himself so well, but he's also somebody who is a sub-300 batting average, and he thinks that he's going to get $400 million in free agency. So, a lot of guys in the National League are saying Bryce Harper overrated. I tend to agree with them on that one. I don't think that he's as good of a player as everybody makes him out to be, but he's still a great guy. Ricky Porcello, he's had a great season so far. Blake Snell, definitely been doing really good out there in Tampa Bay. So we've got, they're just seeing a lot of stand-up players coming. It seems like 2018, a lot of guys are finally finding their groove. And as much as I hate the Yankees, watching Aaron Judge go out there and do what he's doing is also been awesome.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the Red Sox, not just Martinez, but Mookie Betts has had a great season too so far.
Yeah, Mookie has just been blowing people away, and it's really cool. Like, there's a cool backstory to why he says he's been doing so well this season. Earlier in the year, he got a necklace from this kid one of the fans who came and visited him. He gave him this necklace, and he said, "Hey, you inspire me so much. I just wanted to give something to you instead of asking for an autograph." And he gave him this little plastic necklace that had a little plastic bat and a little plastic ball on it. And he wore it, and he just started getting home runs. And if you watch any Red Sox game, you'll still see Mookie Betts wearing this necklace, and it's just become kind of like a good luck charm to him. And he attributes all the home runs he's had this season and all the success he has to this good luck charm. And we know that MLB and baseball players can kind of be superstitious, so it's kind of cool to see that there's a neat backstory to that.
All right, now we look at the All-Star game. I know this is a question Steve wanted to watch or wanted to ask.
Well, I'm back.
Oh,
I'm back. Yeah, I'm
all
back.
Right. So
yeah,
I know, Steve, you wanted to ask about some All-Star game stuff, snubs, stuff
well,
like that.
Yeah. As I start to, dig into baseball now, as the All-Star game comes up next week, I heard a lot of rumbles about some players that really definitely should have had first half of the season that should have played on the All-Star team, and some that, probably are on the All-Star team that didn't really deserve. About those guys a little bit and what you know about that.
Yeah, the first thing that I want to explain about the All-Star game that I think that a lot of people don't understand is that the players for the National League and the American League, they're essentially chosen by the fans. This is an arbitrary system. It's not based on sabermetrics or ERA. This is just kind of a voting system that's been used for so long that it's become a popularity contest. So, I laugh because I'll listen to guys at Barstool and Bleacher Report, and they'll get so angry and they'll write these huge articles about Blake Snell and his ERA and how he deserves to be an All-Star. It's like, yeah, man, come on, I get it, but that's not how this works. It's not based off of ERA. Joe Schmo is in his house Googling metrics and seeing which players are the best. It goes off of who's marketing themselves best. outside of the way that the MLB markets them. So you got guys like Bryce Harper, who, like I said, I mean, really not one of the greatest hitters in the MLB right now. He's had some great home runs, but he markets himself as a brand and as a person so well. And the Nats, they market him so well that he's kind of popped to the surface to become an MVP yet again. You know, there's a lot of guys. Like I said, Blake Snell is one of the best pitchers in baseball right now, but people are like, oh, he got snubbed. Well, it wasn't that he got snubbed. It's just that it's a popularity contest. It's who people like the most, you know, and guys like Bryce Harper just kind of have that sex appeal. And people always, you know, they want to see them at the All-Star game.
Well, then my question is this a deal? Is this a deal where, like, the All-Star game kind of favors big city markets then? I mean, guys are going to most likely be in a bigger city are going to be able to draw more of a fan base and more votes, and say a Yankee's going to get a preferential treatment over a Brewer. Is that true or not, or do you find that to be spread out more? I mean, you're going to see more Yankees and Sox on than you are Milwaukee Brewers, although the Brewers may be having a better year and players having a better
I definitely
season.
think that the voting does favor big cities. And the MLB tried to change that recently, but the union, the Players Association, didn't want to go with that. You know, they'd asked for like a bunch of money up front, and there was just kind of like they wanted to change.
Yeah.
The MLB wanted to change the way that the voting works because it realized that bigger cities, you know, you got guys like the Angels and stuff getting out there, and they were getting more spots than guys like I said from the Brewers.
Right. Yeah. And the downside of that I see is that when you watch an All-Star game in the NFL or the NBA, you go party and make them an extra $75,000, but when you play in the Major League All-Star game, it determines home field advantage for the World Series, doesn't it?
Not anymore.
Oh, did they take that away?
I think so.
They took that away?
Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, like I think that I'm not sure how, as far as like the advantages, you know, I think that it switches from year to year. I think that's the one thing that MLB controls. But other than that, just as far as filling out the rosters, I think that's completely fan run.
Yeah, but I know the All-Star game used to always determine home field advantage for the World Series.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's gone, Mike?
I don't know. Is it
That
gone,
went away?
Josh? I thought I heard it was gone. But
I think it is gone. Yeah.
yeah, it should be gone.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's better then, because that's kind of like a little bit unfair advantage there. I think if you're taking, because the whole World Series, any series of any sport is critical to be able to play. Unless you're Golden State playing Cleveland, it doesn't really matter where you're playing. You're going to get swept anyway. So.
All right.
Home runs seem down. No hitters seem down. Is the game as exciting as it was 10 years ago?
As far as exciting as it was 10 years ago, I mean, I think that it's exciting in a different way. I think what we're seeing is a smarter game of baseball. And so I think it appeals to somebody who, has been watching the sport for a long time. But as far as the appeal that it has to new viewers and the younger generation, I just don't think it's exciting as it has been in the past. I mean, you watch baseball games from the 70s and the 80s, and they were completely different than what we're watching today. And so I think that's why the MLB is having such a hard time getting viewers.
Steroids have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be. I think that, like I said, I think steroids had a lot to do with ruining the last generation's perception of baseball players as heroes. And I remember growing up and watching Mark McGwire, Sandy Sosa, and them going to town. I know that's going to piss you guys off as far as age goes, but those are the guys I grew up with. And then kind of growing up and then realizing that both of those guys were just juiced to the gills, it took away a little bit of that magic for me. And, but I managed to stick it out and become a fan. But now seeing all these guys pop for steroids, I think it hurts that generation's perception.
All right,
Mike, I'm going to let you talk while I'm taking over.
That's all right. Josh, we're going to go ahead. We want to thank you for coming in, and we'd like to have you back
Absolutely.
maybe this time every week to talk about baseball with us, and if something breaks, maybe come in on different days too, just as needed. But
Yes, sir.
well, I want to thank you for coming in. Steve, you got any final words for Josh?
No, the only thing I'd say, the conversation Mike and I had about the steroids thing, and I know this is going to play well in Peoria, but, guys were taking steroids, but there still were a lot of guys taking steroids that weren't hitting 70 home runs a game or a season. It still takes talent, with or without steroids. Absolutely. I mean, there were a lot of guys juiced that were not producing the numbers that McGwire and Sosa and those guys were. So and it doesn't condone using steroids. It just says, I don't like the fact that they say that those guys only did what they did solely based on steroids.
Well, yeah.
It
And then
still
people don't understand
took talent to hit the ball out. You know, Barry Bonds, those guys that are all accused of it, they still separated themselves amongst a huge pack of people that were using steroids at that point in time.
I think Barry Bonds would have been a Hall of Famer without the steroids. So, yeah, you're absolutely correct. I think that, you know, it's such a technical thing to hit the ball that far, you know, that, you know, using a little bit of enhancer like that's not going to alter that much. But,
okay.
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right.
Wait. One last question. Wait. One last question as a fan. And this is a fan because doesn't know what you guys do. Pete Rose, Hall of Fame, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
No. Wait a second.
Thank you.
Just put on an hour show because that's absolutely. I don't see how anybody could believe that.
That's why we're bringing him back next week. We're going to talk about Pete Rose, the Hall of Fame.
I'll have my answer prepared.
All right, we'll do this.
I think I'm with you, Josh. Pete belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know because gambling on baseball shouldn't keep you out of the Hall of Fame.
There are a number of scoundrels that are in the Hall of Fame for different reasons.
Tell me who they are. Tell me who they are.
It's a different show. We don't have another hour.
All right, so we'll do this. Friday, if you're good, Josh, we'll do Pete Rose, whether he should be in the Hall of Fame or not.
Oh, I'm going to love this, Josh. I'm on your side, Josh.
That's good. And Josh, so you know, that usually means you're going to lose, and it'll be rather bad.
Josh, you know what? Sadly, he's probably right. He'll do his homework once in a while. He'll be loaded for bear on this one.
All right. We're going to let Josh go. He will be back Friday, so we can do the Pete Rose show, which is always one of my favorites.
That will be a good one.
So next up, we're going to have Lukas Weese to talk about the PGA Tour with Steve. We will be back in a minute. Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com. All right, guys, we're back on Survive in Advance. Lukas, are you there? We're having problems with Lukas. All right, so what we're going to do here is the one thing we did want to bring up today was the passing of Billy Knight, former UCLA Bruin. You want to talk a little bit about that?
You have reached the voicemail box of
Lukas Weese.
Oh, Lukas screwed us today, huh?
No,
but
idiot.
Talk to us about Billy Knight a little bit and just a breaking story that's happened with the passing.
Well, yeah, Billy Knight was a player in the early 2000s. And, of course, I thought when I first saw the name, I thought Billy Knight of the Indiana Pacers. He had an outstanding career with the Pacers, so I obviously dove into it. But apparently 2 days ago he committed suicide, left a very poignant video on YouTube talking about depression and things like that, and really imploring everybody to go out and to get help. He was a pretty strong player for UCLA in the early 2000s. Didn't have really a pro career, played some in Italy, played some D-League basketball, but was well respected in the basketball community as a trainer. And, you know, what it just smacks to, and they just found him on a road, and I don't know the cause of death. I would guess it's probably a gunshot wound or something, but they have not divulged that at this point. But basically, they found him laying on the road in Phoenix, Arizona. And the main message pretty much was what in line, what I think, Mike, you and I have kind of taken on a little bit is something we want to keep discussing and rising the noise level, and that's CTE. You talked about mental health issues, and people need to get help if they're feeling depressed, feeling down. And here we have another athlete in a sport that generally you don't think of right off the top of your head when you think CTE or you know, brain trauma. You think of the contact sports, the more physically contact sports, And here's a basketball player who really didn't even play in the NBA, and ends up apparently, by what all indications are initially, are that he took his life because of mental health issues, which at that point it leads probably to CTE. We won't know that until obviously an autopsy is done. So I think it keeps driving home the message that the major leagues of all professional sports and everybody really need to start getting behind this and really start investing time, effort, and money and commitment to the players that already have it, and prevent it from future players of developing it. We're seeing it not just in football anymore. It's across the board. We talked to Nick Boynton earlier a couple weeks ago, and it's I think it's probably always been here. I just think now we're understanding it and we're finding it, and we have no clue as to how large of an issue this really is in sports and how much damage we inflict on our bodies when we all go out and play. Your comments, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about it. I don't think anybody does know yet much, except for what he put in the video. I don't know if they're planning on checking his brain or if he wanted it donated or anything. But we're going to go ahead and transition here to the PGA Tour.
Well, I tell you what, I just got a text from Lucas. He's waiting for your call.
No,
so
give it matters. I called him. Do you want to
try it again? He hit.
Really? All right, we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back right after this. Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com. All right, guys, we're back on Survive in Advance. I'm Mike Goodpaster along with Steve Risley. Steve, you want to talk to us a little bit about the PGA Tour schedule and the changes there and why those changes have been made?
Basically, for the first time, and really what I can consider, and a little bit about the history of the PGA and how it's evolved and things like that, for the first time now, they've come out and almost done a total revamp on their schedule. And it's fascinating how much one sport
30 seconds
plays
remaining.
That's what happens.
Okay, never mind.
Keep going.
How one sport plays into another. What the PGA Tour did was they shortened their schedule, and they looked at the weather related in terms of different in the seasons and things. And for the first time, they've actually moved the chronological order now of the majors, and they moved the PGA Tour, which had always been the last major, Glory's last shot, as Jim Nance will tell you.
Your recording has reached maximum length. If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record it, press 3. For delivery options, press 9.
Yeah. Mike, would it go without saying, Lucas is in trouble.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record it, press 3. For delivery options, press 9.
I guess we don't have any delivery options.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record it, press 3. For delivery options, press 9.
All right.
Press 1, Mike.
I did. But I have to pull up a screen to do it.
Message sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Basically, the PGA Tour is trying to do this in 5 minutes without Lucas, because Lucas had a much greater descriptor of it, although I understand the whole mentality of it all. They basically kind of finally backed off and said, the NFL rules the fall, and our season's too long. And I think it's something you're probably going to see other sports kind of starting to realize, that basically once pro football starts and college football starts, and I don't want to diminish college football, that pretty well the sports world kind of focuses almost significantly on that. But the PGA has moved it up. Their major tournament time now ends in July as opposed to mid to late August when they would run the PGA. Now, some of the caveats into that was they wanted to have a major golf tournament happen prior to the Masters, because generally you would have the Hawaiian trip and the West Coast swing, and not a lot of the big name players would ever come out to those tournaments. And it would generally be a pretty slow start for the PGA Tour. And right around Augusta time, which is usually the first weekend in April, players, the big guns, would start coming out and playing. A few of them make a trip over to Hawaii to play in the Tournament of Champions and things like that. But it was more of a vacation for their family. They didn't really care if they won or not. They took their families with them and things of that nature. So they've moved the Tournament Players Championship, which is Sawgrass, which is the world-famous island green. They actually moved that tournament up into March. So to put some heat and pack and punch and draw out the big players, because that is often considered the fifth major. It probably draws the best professional field of any tournament actually in golf, because it's basically all the tour players. It's their tournament, so they all go play in it, whereas all the other tournaments have some form of qualifier that many times eliminates some of the top players. So they packed their season more forward, really starting in March with the Players' Championship and really ending in July, thus giving them an opportunity to, and their big event at the end of the year is what's called the FedEx Cup, for those of you that follow golf. And it's a $10 million purse. It used to be based on 4 tournaments that would run right into about the middle of the first half of pro football season. And they just saw a significant decline in their viewership and participation from fans and things of that nature, because once NFL starts, people get glued on Sundays to watching football, their teams in every city, and all the other sports, NASCAR and golf and baseball, everything. It takes secondary status to that. So they've got it. They pared the Tour Championship down to 3 tournaments now, as opposed to 4. They moved it up. So basically they're going to have their pretty much PGA Tour season done right about the start of the 1st of September, which is right when historically the NFL opens up its season, right around Labor Day weekend. Generally are the first games played in the NFL. So this is the first league. What's significant about this is really what I would call the first major league of sports to really recognize the fact that they're just not in a position to compete, despite all the woes and problems the NFL is having. But that's how big a dog the NFL is in American culture and American sports. So they've shifted it forward. They're going to be done. They'll have their silly season, which includes like the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup and some made-for-TV challenges and things that go on like that. But for the most part, PGA Tour said, look, we're not in a position to compete. We're losing money TV-wise. We're losing fan base right at the end of the most important part, and we're coming forward. Some notes, a couple big tournaments that were lost. Tiger Woods lost his tournament. Now, Tiger always played a tournament over the 4th of July in Washington, D.C. Lately it's been called the Quicken Loans Open. They just played it, and it was really to honor military service and things of that nature. It was played in D.C., usually culminated with the 4th of July fireworks there. But basically the PGA Tour pulled that tournament away from him, which is a different story in its own right. In a sense that, Nicklaus and Palmer both have their own tournaments, the Memorial and Bay Hill. And, they pretty well took Tigers away from him, probably because of the decline of Tiger, maybe some of those off-course shenanigans that were going on. I'm sure a lot of factors going on there. Lucas and I talked earlier. We both think that at some point in time he'll get a tournament back again, because he will eventually end up being one of the 3 greatest players ever to play the game. Where he fits, a lot depends on how he does in the last part of a few years of playing. But they moved that tournament to Detroit. And, again, it's part of the shortening of the season thing. They just eliminated a couple tournaments. The other big one was Firestone. The Bridgestone, WCC Bridgestone tournament was always played there. And Firestone's been a staple on the PGA Tour since basically the tour has been around. It's one of the most historic venues of golf in Akron. I'm sure even LeBron James has probably played there a time or two. I know I've played Firestone. It's a very nice golf course. But that tournament's going away too. And they're going to probably go to the senior tour and host a major for the senior tour. So what we saw, the significance of this is if you're a golf fan, it's really changed things around for if you're a golf fan. If you're not a golf fan, the significant relevance I would take away from it is that the PGA Tour recognized that we're not as big as the NFL and we can't compete. When they come on TV, we lose. Let's just avoid competing against them. Any comments, Mike?
No. I think it's the only thing they can do. And NASCAR needs to shorten it up, too, because
Right.
They're niche sports, and you lose half your niche that likes this other sport. So,
right.
I just think it's common
and that
sense.
becomes an interesting thing to watch now. Is do these other niche sports like NASCAR, which runs into mid to late October with their chase, you call it, or their playoffs, cuts deep into NFL season 2 at the first half of it there, and it's like they're not doing well in these series either. They're losing audience, and does NASCAR follow suit now and say, look, we just realized the big dog in the house on TV is the NFL. And you start seeing all these different sports start just giving them their space and saying, we'll work around you rather than try and fight you, because we've proven over the last 10 years of television with declining ratings in most sports on TV, including the NFL, that they just cannot compete, and they drop off so dramatically at the end of the year, which ends up being the important time for all these niche season sports where they're trying to build their reputation up by having these playoffs, these created playoff things. So I think it's a great observation on your point. Interesting now to see what NASCAR does in the next few years. They run a 36-race schedule. That's a lot of time for those guys to be away from their families, and a lot of time on the road, a lot of equipment during the race. So NASCAR surely would be I'm keeping my eye on them to see what they do in reaction to the PGA Tour. So not a big deal to the sporting world overall in general, but it is a big deal to the PGA Tour in terms of trying to revitalize their ratings, because their TV contracts are coming up. And, the majors are going to be safe. Everybody's always going to watch the major events in golf, but it's the regular week-to-week tour events that are going to start to really suffer. The other big news of that, too, is the RBC Canadian Open is going to be played now the week before the U.S. Open, which is a good show of support of the PGA Tour to recognize Canada's Open, because now a lot better quality of players will come and play in the Canadian Open the week before the U.S. Open, whereas before it's always been John Deere, which is a tournament going on this weekend in Peoria, Illinois, and most of the guys just choose to go over to England, Scotland, wherever they're playing this year. It's Carnoustie this year, and we're playing there next weekend. They choose just not to play, and actually the John Deere Classic in Peoria is one of the best-run tournaments on the PGA Tour, but they never get the big names because people just hike it on over the pond. And now they're hoping with the Canadian Open coming in, it's a big enough of a championship, and Canada's biggest golf tournament, that they'll be able to hold more of their players here rather than send them over there for that too. So good moves on the PGA Tour's part overall. I know we'll discuss it with Lucas some in a little bit more detail, but in a nutshell, in 10 minutes without killing a lot of time, that was pretty much it. It's the changes made. Pretty good job by the PGA Tour, I think, to realize their place in the pecking order that they are in this sport.
All right. You got anything else for today, Steve?
No, just happened. Roger Federer was upset. He is out of the Wimbledon. Beat the epic, I think 11-9 or 13-11.
Yeah, because they
had it on the TV in the background.
Tiebreaker in the fifth set to decide the.
You're right. They don't. They keep playing until somebody's up by 2. You're exactly right, and that bodes well for your argument in soccer. Except that I would rather see the tiebreaker in soccer and get that crap over with than have to sit and watch them play another 120 minutes, banging the ball up and down the field and doing nothing.
The other breaking news is Bengals cornerback Pac-Man Jones was attacked by an employee at an airport about 20 minutes ago. Police say that Cincinnati Bengals cornerback Adam Pac-Man Jones was attacked during a run-in with a facility service employee at the airport in Atlanta. Atlanta police spokesman Jarius Daughtry says Jones confronted ABM Industries employee Frank Ragland after Franklin made a gesture towards the football player that I guess was not flattering Tuesday night at Hartsfield. Okay, so what day is this? Wednesday? Yes, and it was last
Today is
night.
Wednesday, yeah.
It just broke in the last half hour. Police say words were exchanged before Ragland punched Jones in the face with a closed fist, causing a cut to Jones's face. Doherty then said at some point during the fight, Reagan ended up hitting a woman who was with Jones, injuring her hand. He says Jones defended himself and pushed Reagan to the ground. Jones and her friend declined medical treatment. Reagan was arrested on 2 accounts of battery and taken to a nearby hospital to be treated for his injuries. So And then,
all right, I got two parts to this.
What?
You go ahead. You finish what you're saying.
No,
I got two parts. But finish.
Go ahead.
Well, the first part is, so this precipitated by a comment made by an employee and then a reaction by
flipped him off.
Pac-Man.
And Pac-Man went and asked him why he was
and see, when do these guys learn as much trash talking that goes on the field just to walk away from it? Just really, truly, I mean, these guys aren't disciplined enough mentally and physically just to shrug it off and realize there's fan bases everywhere and there's people that love you and hate you. That's the nature of what they pay their money to go to watch you play. And why don't more pros in this situation just shrug it off? Well, just laugh. The best thing you do, guys, laugh, turn your head, and walk away. That irritates him more than you flipping him off. Am I right or wrong there?
Yeah,
or are we into this manhood thing?
You probably be.
Yeah, just laugh at him, kind of giggle, and just say, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I got to catch my flight. I'm in first class while you're picking my baggage up." You don't say that. You just kind of acknowledge that, like
you just said.
Yeah,
you say
okay. Well, you say that in your mind, but you kind of just laugh at him, like, "Yeah, take my luggage and make sure it gets in the first class section of luggage because I'm sitting in first class," and move on and go. It's just these guys create these opportunities for fans, and then you get, the copycatters that come in and say, "Oh, I'm going to incite this guy because if he hits me."
Because this is not the first time that Pac-Man Jones has been incited.
Right. I know Pac-Man's had a troubled past. I understand that. That's what I'm saying. Does he not learn from his mistakes? I don't know.
Pac-Man, no. I can tell you this. I actually know Pac-Man. I've spent some time at a couple boxing events with him, some other places. He's a really good guy, but
I like the guy.
He just has a hard time controlling himself if he feels like he's being disrespected.
He has a hard time letting it go. He takes it personal. And when you play, you're a celebrity. When you're an athlete like that, and you're at that level, people are spending that kind of money. You have to learn. I mean, we go to Kentucky every time, and I remember having a Coke dumped on us as we were coming out of the locker room. And fans up above us coming out of the tunnel and dumping Cokes on us. At Mackey Arena, we'd be on the free throw line, and dimes and golf balls would come whizzing by you on the court. And it's like you just can't take it personally. You just got to – that's the nature of the beast that you're dealing with, and that's what you live with. And, I just think that these guys should be better conditioned and trained mentally to withstand that and just avoid those situations, and especially somebody like Pac-Man, who probably is a decent guy. But, just can't control it and gets himself in these situations. All right, enough said there. You want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Buffalo? I mean, another one of these NFL messes.
I mean, as Georgia police and the NFL are investigating a home invasion Tuesday at the house owned by Buffalo Bills running back LaShawn McCoy, in which his estranged girlfriend was allegedly beaten and robbed of her jewelry. Police in the Atlanta suburb they're investigating the incident and have not named any suspects. McCoy, who has been training in Miami this summer, denied accusations made on social media by a friend of the victim that he was responsible for her injuries. He said that he had no direct contact with her in the last few months, which, why is she at his house then? But attorneys for the victim, they tell a different story. I mean, the attorney here actually is playing some into this rumor, and this could get messy for the NFL like a lot of things have.
See, that's my next question. So what happens here? Is this another one of these deals where the police will come out and say, hey, we think Jameis Winston's a great guy. He didn't do it. We exonerate him. And the NFL comes out and says, no, that's not what happened. Did we just recreate the Jameis Winston mess all over again? And is this just a plague on the NFL?
We recreate this mess almost weekly, it looks like. Which is part of the problem with the NFL getting to make these decisions. Because when you don't have a court that has to convict somebody of something, then it makes it so people that want to make some money off a player a lot easier for them to come out and just make stuff up and then get them in trouble, and in the end, they get paid off.
So your belief is that if the legal system finds the guy innocent and not guilty of it, and I'm sure the Atlanta police are going to do their due process, if they just say, look, he had no part of this, then the NFL should just let it go and leave it alone.
Yeah, I mean, if there is,
or are they trying to over?
You got to use criminality here, because if you're not, if
right.
the NFL's doing it, it is basically a civil case, and as we know, in a civil case, you don't really have to prove that something was done. In a civil case, you just got to have enough circumstantial evidence to make it look like something might have happened.
Right.
And
a la O.J. Simpson.
Yeah,
O.J.
Simpson.
That's why the Goldberg family got all his money, even though he was found innocent.
Yeah, and I think this, I think, maybe we know why they call LaShawn McCoy Shady McCoy now, but this has to be proven. It would not surprise me if he did it. I'm not going to sit here and defend him, because from what we've seen over the last few years, I mean, who would have thought Ray Rice would ever be caught on film beating the hell out of his girlfriend or his wife? And the other thing that you have to question here is the CTE once again. Because when you look at the guys with it, after they retire, they get mean, they start being abusive. So I don't know. We'll find out what happened here one way or the other, I think, over the next few weeks. But
all right, but
the whole point
that poses another great question.
Go ahead.
No, that poses another great question, though, is that rather than the NFL forking all this money into doing these investigations, these secret investigations, shouldn't they be forking money into CTE and saying, look, we have a problem here with CTE. We need to be helping these players curtail themselves and control their issues, rather than sit there and try and think they're doing the public favor by saying, we allegedly hit his girlfriend or allegedly hit an Uber driver. And I think we all know what we think happened, but we don't know what happened. We know what we think happened, but they try and defend the league and sacrifice the player. Is the NFL just not getting it here? That they should be helping the players and stop these things that way, rather than think they're going to stop them by suspending players without due process. I mean, is that the way we ought to be thinking here?
What they're trying to do is they just try to run around and put Band-Aids on gaping wounds instead of actually treating this so it doesn't get to be where it's a gaping wound.
And it looks to me like CTE is a gaping wound.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the gaping wound that may bring the NFL down.
Well, it's the gaping wound that, as you saw with Billy Knight, if that proves out, that's a basketball player. Lou Gehrig.
Right.
I mean, ALS is caused by head trauma. When you go back, and I know HBO Real Sports did something on Lou Gehrig, and they went back and looked at his baseball career, and there was like 6 or 7 instances where he actually got knocked out on a field, came out of the game, and of course we know about the great game streak he played, where he played 2,130 straight baseball games. So he would get knocked out one day, next day he's in the lineup. He dies of ALS. So there's a correlation no matter what you do, whether it's soccer, baseball, basketball, football, whatever it is. There's a correlation with this. So I think it needs to be taken more seriously. I don't think it will. I think the NFL just takes things seriously when pressure's put on them. And let's face it, when the public puts pressure on them, if they do something, the public will forget about it. That pressure might come back when something happens again, but it's not like the NFL is going out of their way to try to solve the problem, because they're not even trying to solve the problem of the guys that is already proven have had it and were hurt playing their game. They're still not taking care of those guys either. So what makes you think, if they're not taking care of the guys that got them to the point of being one of the biggest corporations in the world, what makes you think they're going to take care of the guys playing for them now? Because let's face it, these guys are only good to the NFL while they're playing. Before and after, the NFL could care less.
It seems to me their mentality is, once season starts, this shit all washes away anyway, because people just get into cheering for their teams and trying to make playoffs, and they just ride it out until then. So do we call BS on the NFL?
Well, I mean,
of course we do. We call BS on the NFL.
BS, but this is the thing, and you talk
it's all
about
BS.
that.
Yeah.
When people watch, like Ricky Dixon, who's got ALS, they'll watch the NFL or the E60 on ESPN, which, provides the NFL with a ton of money that they don't do anything to help Ricky Dixon with. And, they'll sit there and they'll shed a tear for Ricky Dixon. But the next day, if there's a game on, they don't think twice about it. And when one of their favorite players goes down, they're sitting there calling him a sissy because they're not going right back in the game.
Yeah.
Because these people, I mean, most fans consider football players, especially NFL football players, they consider it just like, we talked about the gaming, and you're playing Madden. I think anymore when people watch sports and they see a player get hurt, it's almost like they're just watching Madden.
What scares me, Mike, is that I think the NFL just thinks that they are somewhat godlike and can just keep sweeping us over. And it's going to take, I hope it doesn't come to this, but maybe some some player may walk into the NFL office with a weapon and inflict some damage big time. I mean, it's not inconceivable at this point in time when you consider these acts of violence allegedly occurring. And I want to say allegedly because we don't know what happened.
Well, this is the thing, though. We're not even talking about LaShawn McCoy right now. We're just talking overall in general.
Right, yeah, but Sean McCoy is just another nail in the coffin. I mean, he's just another nail that's being driven into a coffin. And how many nails do you got to put into a coffin before somebody starts realizing we got people dying out here? Well, I mean, I'm getting more and more disappointed. The more I study, and we've talked about CTE on our show, and how prevalent we just continue to find this is at all levels of sports, from youth sports to professional sports to retired athletes. And it's like I'm appalled that Major League Sports, which has the money, NCAA has the money. I mean, how much of that $900 million cash has the NCAA committed to CTE, the investigation?
None.
Now we see a kid who's basically his last big claim to fame was he played basketball at UCLA. He played a little bit in the D League. We're talking about Billy Knight now.
He played in Japan.
He played overseas for a year or two. But basically, he didn't go to the NBA and get the crap beat out of him for 13 years. I mean, this is a kid that probably a lot of this happened in AAU basketball and in college basketball. So where is the NCAA? Where is Congress saying you have to commit so much of your profits to doing this now? Because it's coming from you guys for the most part and driving itself down. This culture of just putting winning above everything else sometimes gets way out of hand. I mean, it just gets out of hand.
All right,
Dale Earnhardt retired from auto racing because he basically believes he has CTE. He's already donated his brain to research.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's a shame. So, but that's a topic for another day. I'm sorry that it happened, but I think you're going to find it's going to be another case of they're going to find some traumatic brain damage done from the contact involved in these sports. And if we can't make it safer, we got to really rethink how we're doing it.
All right, Steve, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up today.
All right.
Remember, you can catch us at noon tomorrow. Well, it's tonight if somebody's listening to it. So, and tonight you can listen to us on the Inside Boxing Weekly Show with me, John Einreinhofer, Jeremiah Pricer. We will be on at 7 o'clock Eastern Time live to preview the Manny Pacquiao-Lucas Matisse fight this weekend. And also so me and John Einreinhofer can fight over just general things that we don't agree with, which is almost we never agree with each other. But that's what makes it fun. You can follow us.
Mike, can I ask you one more question before you close out for us?
Yeah.
What are you going to be doing for the next 2 hours of your life?
For the next 2 hours of my life?
You're not going to watch England play Croatia?
Why would I do that?
You're not going to sit through that?
I was actually thinking about doing something that seemed more entertaining. So I think what I may do is go see if I can pull all my fingernails off of my hands and then put them back on and get them to stick just with the blood that comes out from when I pull them off. That seems more exciting to me. I mean, I'm not cheering for England because they're a monarchy. They're kings, queens. Our forefathers killed all them just so we didn't have to watch this shit. So don't watch soccer. If you like soccer and you're mad at me because I don't care. It's boring. Dude, the field is like 4 miles long. There'll be like 9 shots on goal. There's a decent chance the game's going to end 1-1, and then we're going to have 5 guys in shorts with knee pads trying to kick the ball into the goal. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's a sport that is played mainly by communists, socialists, and fascist. All right? So, what I got to say is this. You know what? In America, the majority of people don't care. In Canada, which is like, for greatest countries in the world, it's 1A, 1B. It's us in Canada. Sometimes it switches. You never know anymore because we have a hard time keeping the lead. But, yeah, in America and Canada, nobody cares. Because in Canada, you only have like a month where it's nice enough where you can have grass anyways. So, soccer's stupid. All right? It's boring. It serves no purpose. None whatsoever.
And I have to throw in a disclaimer that says the views of certain announcers on this program are not solely the expression of the program as a general whole. Although I tend to agree with Mike on this one. So.
That's because I'm right. Soccer is stupid.
If
you're a girl, go play soccer.
When they're right.
If you're a guy, get a helmet and go risk some CTE because you're already getting CTE for playing soccer. I mean, is it better to be a grown man, run into another grown man and hit him, or is it better to get CTE because you were headbutting a ball towards a goal? Give me a break. But for that, we're done. I want to thank Josh, Raymond, Castro for coming on to talk baseball with us today. We will be back at noon tomorrow. Check us out at 7 tonight for the Inside Boxing Weekly show. We'll be back. There's nothing soccer people can do to us. They're all too soft. All right, so we're going to get off here. So for Josh Castro, almost Lukas Weese, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.